Hi friends, welcome into my home and into my kitchen here at All Things Kitchen. My name is Jennifer. Thank you for joining me today. If you're new here, if you're coming back, thank you. Today I'm going to be making pizza scones. I've made this recipe once before, but it was years ago. And I have pizza on the brain today. And I was deciding what kind of scone I wanted to make. Because I was thinking about scones as well. So let's put the two together and we're going to make pizza scones. I am going to play with this recipe a little bit, but I will put the link for the inspiration recipe down below. So I have most of my ingredients ready. There's just a few things that I need to do. And so let's go ahead and roll the intro and I'll bring you right back. So the first of my ingredients is to watch the sifter fall down. 3 cups of flour. I don't know if that's going to hang on there. There we go. Let's try that. 3 cups of, I'm using all-purpose flour. Yep. So I'm going to sift this a little bit just so it's not so heavy before I put some more of the ingredients in here. All right. We're switching sifters. My fine mesh sifter is not fitting on that bowl. So don't struggle, change tactics. The next ingredient is going to be 3 tablespoons of cornstarch. Now this scone recipe is not like a typical scone recipe where you kind of roll it out and shape it and then cut it into shapes. This is more of a scoop, but we're going to do something different with that too. So to this also, I'm going to add baking powder, and that's 1 tablespoon of baking powder. And then 1.5 teaspoons of baking soda. There's 1, and we'll grab a half. One and a half teaspoons baking soda. And then 1 teaspoon of salt. And then we'll just sift all this together. All right, so we have our mixture right here, our dry mixture, most of it. Okay, I have 6 tablespoons of butter that I have cubed up that I'm going to add in here. And I just pulled this out of the refrigerator, so my butter is pretty cold. And I'm just going to break these pieces up, get them in here. All right. Give them a little coat first. Now you can use forks, you can use a pastry blender. I'm just going to use my fingers, and I'm just going to squeeze the butter in between my fingers to break them up a little bit. And I do want to work a little bit fast. My kitchen's not warm yet. I don't have the stove preheating yet, the oven, I mean. But as soon as that gets going, it's going to warm up my kitchen. So I'm feeling through the butter, and it feels like most of it I have squished. There's a few pieces here that I'm just feeling around for. And now that that's done, I'm just going to kind of flatten out the butter with my hands. You could use a food processor to do this. I just don't want the butter broken up that much because I want it to be a little flaky. We'll see. I'm also, this recipe calls for kind of just using like a scoop, a measuring cup or something to scoop this out. I am going to use my little mini loaf pan that I have. And you could use a muffin tin if you wanted to. I'm just going to kind of play with this a little bit and see what we can do. Okay, that feels good. So I have, the recipe calls for 2 cups of shredded cheddar cheese, which I do have cheddar cheese, but I also have mozzarella. So I'm going to add the equivalent of 2 cups mostly. I am reserving some on the side just to kind of put on top of the scones when I put them in the oven. So I'm just going to mix that up a little bit. And just get that cheese all grated. Now I have a little bit of prep that I need to do for the pepperoni and sun-dried tomatoes. So I'm going to go ahead and stick this in the refrigerator or even the freezer. I don't know if I have room in my freezer for this big bowl though. I'm going to stick this in the refrigerator. I'll be right back. I'm going to put my leftover cheese in the refrigerator as well. Okay, and my cutting board that I used to cut up my butter. So now I am going to cut up about 1 cup of pepperoni. Let's see, this bag is 6 ounces, so. And I'm just going to, you can use a knife, I'm going to, a bowl right here, I can go ahead and cut these right into the bowl. Just kind of cut it up into little pieces. Yep, that's about 1 cup. And then the recipe calls for 10 sun-dried tomatoes. I've got, let's see, there we go. These sun-dried tomatoes are already julienne cut. So I'm going to take some out and cut it up just a little bit more. And where'd my knife go? Just kind of chop them up just a little bit more. I'm not too worried about it. probably want more than this though. So part of the experimentation that I'm going to do with this recipe, besides the vessel that I'm cooking it in, is I am going to take some of the mixture and set it aside and add some tomato powder to some of it as well, and see which I like better, whether with or without the tomato flour, or powder, I mean, not flour. I know that this tomato, the sun-dried tomatoes, will help give it that tomato flavor, but I've been thinking about that as well, because I mean, like I said, I have made this recipe before, and I just want to kind of play with it. Okay, I just turned my oven on to preheat, and I'm going to go ahead and add in the rest of the ingredients while my oven is preheating. So that's about a cup of pepperoni that I chopped up, and the recipe called for 10 sun-dried tomatoes. I don't know what that equals, so we'll just put that in there. So let me just mix this up, and then I need to add 1 tablespoon of Italian seasoning. Add that in there. And then before I add the liquid in, I'm going to go ahead and set some aside to add that tomato powder too. But I just want to give this a really good mix so that everything is incorporated. All right, and I'm just going to, there's pepperoni left over. Let's see here. Just a little bit over here. Maybe like a cup's worth. There we go. And so we'll deal with that one in a second. Now this is a pretty wet batter. I have here 2 cups of buttermilk. Actually, it was regular milk that I added lemon juice to. And you know what? I know I poured some of that in, but didn't quite sit long enough. And I think it needs a little bit more lemon juice. If I had buttermilk on hand, I would use that, but I don't. So I'm making buttermilk. So let's go ahead and add in the tomato powder here. And I'm going to start with just shy of a tablespoon. And let's see what that looks like. Of course. And if you don't have tomato powder, obviously, you know, I don't know. We're going to have to see if this is even going to taste good. It might be too much for it or not enough. It might not make a difference at all. But if you have it and it tastes good at the end, maybe you can try this as well. And get that. I can smell the tomato, so. All right. So now we have both of these ready. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to pour most of that in there. Let's see. And like I said, this is a wet batter, so I'm expecting it to be a little bit wet. If I have to add a little bit more flour in there, I can do that, but especially since I'm separating and dividing this without doing actual measurements. Let's try this one now. Okay. Now I think this one looks okay. I think this one's a little bit too wet, so I'm going to grab some flour. And I think this is just my Florida humidity messing with my flour. And I think that little bit will probably be perfect. Yes. So you can always pivot and adjust if something doesn't look right. Beautiful. So now we have the two mixtures, and I'm going to set some things aside, get my pan ready, this one right here, and I'm going to spray it with some olive oil or with some avocado oil. So let me go prep this. I'll be right back. So I have my pan here, and I sprayed it and used a pastry brush just with some avocado oil. And let's see here. I'm going to start off with about like a quarter cup measuring cup and see how that goes in there. And this is a quarter cup, and I'm using like a heaping quarter cup. And I'm hoping, I don't want to put too much in there. Let's see. I want to go back and put some more in there. I can. There we go. I think these two are kind of more what I'm looking for. So let me get some more in this one. And just work with what you have. If you're using a muffin tin, just measure it out in the muffin tin. If you're just putting a scoop on a baking sheet, like free-form dumpling biscuit type thing, then just whatever size you want. Of course, the cooking temperature is going to vary depending on that, but you can just keep an eye on that. I just have a little bit left of this batter that I'm just going to spread out amongst the pan here. And then I'll get the tomato one, and we'll go from there. Honestly, I think the tomato ones look gorgeous. I think they're going to be really tasty, but we'll see. It may be a big flop. That's why I didn't want to do like even half the recipe, because I just don't know. I generally only use that tomato powder to make tomato paste, or to, like when I make my homemade spaghetti sauce, I do use that to thicken the spaghetti sauce a little bit. So we'll see. Let me get the cheese just to have a little bit on top, and I could even put a little more pepperoni on top, maybe. We'll see. Doesn't need a whole lot. Just kind of want to give it that crispiness that oven cooked cheese can get, hopefully. I don't know if I have enough for. And then I also just have a little Parmesan Romano that I'm going to sprinkle on top. There we go. Just kind of ad-libbing today. Now, the oven isn't quite preheated, so I am going to go ahead and take a couple of pepperoni since I have time. Just kind of tear off a couple of pieces. You could, of course, make these prettier. I'm just kind of going for just a whatever, rustic, you know, home cooking. And I'm hungry. So when you're cooking, when you're hungry, more is better. Not necessarily when it's all done, but I'm hungry, so. But your kitchen, your rules. You do what you want for your kitchen. All right, I'm going to wash my hands. I'll be right back. Okay, the recipe says to, in dividing these out, use a 1/3 cup measuring cup, and that this should make 12 big scones. Well, I have 8, and so I'm going to up the time that it takes to cook. The recommended time is 15 to 18 minutes. I'm probably going to be more like 20 to 25, but the beeper just went off on my oven, letting me know it's preheated, so I'm going to put these in. I set the timer for 20 minutes. We will check it at that point and see where we're at, see if it needs more. It probably will. Just the heft of that pan, when I picked it up, I could feel, you know, it's a pretty dense batter, with it being the buttermilk and all that stuff, the cheese and just everything that's in there. So I'll bring you back when they're all done. I'll let you know how long it did cook for in the oven. Like I said, 450 degrees. Yes, 450 degrees. I'll see you in a minute. So the scones are out of the oven. I did let them go for 2 more minutes, so a total of 22 minutes. And now I'm just letting them sit for about 5 minutes, and then I'll take them out of the pan and put them on the cooling rack and show you what they look like. And we'll let it sit for a few more minutes after that before we dive in, even though, like I said, half an hour ago, I'm hungry. So I want to dig in right now. But don't want to burn my mouth, and I am going to try the 2 different ones, and I'll split them with my husband, and he can see what his favorite is as well. And we'll go from there. 5 minutes. These look beautiful. So I have on that plate one with the tomato powder and one without, and I'm just going to cut it in half. We'll take a look. This is the one without the tomato powder. Peek first before we taste. My husband's standing behind you right now, just hovering, waiting for his bite.
Our son Wesley, who lives on pizza, I think he's going to love it.
And that's the one with the tomato powder. Okay, so let's try the one without first. If it gets crumbly, just... He's ahead of me. Let's see. I don't know. Oh, I smelled the Italian seasoning and the sun-dried tomatoes. I think it tastes really good, but I don't think it tastes like a pizza. What do you think? Do you think it tastes like a pizza?
No, it doesn't really taste like a pizza, but I really do like that outside crispiness of the crust with it.
Putting that cheese on top and having it bake in that pan rather than just on its own does give it that pizza crust crisp, I think.
And the soft fluffiness of
It is.
Bread in the middle reminds me of deep dish pizzas.
Mm-hmm. Let's try the other one. Oh, it tastes really good. I could see dipping that into like a marinara sauce or a pizza sauce. Yeah. Let's try the one that has the tomato powder and see.
I like the tomato powder.
It's just faint.
Yes, those makes it more
pizza-like.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Slightly more pizza-like to this.
I agree. I'm not sure if you could hear him, but the tomato powder definitely does add to it, and it makes it, to me, taste more pizza-like. I think I like the one with the tomato powder better.
Yes, I agree.
But the one without is really good too.
Yes.
And I could see adding other things in here, whatever type of pizza toppings that you like. I actually had some black olives that I thought about putting in there, but I wanted to try the tomato powder first, and then we can experiment next time with more things. I think it could use a little bit more cheese.
Yeah, a little more cheese. I was going to say pepperoni, but
I think maybe like onions would be really good. Maybe even some mushrooms. I don't know how the mushrooms would do moisture-wise. But I think onions would be really good in there. Even like some sweet peppers, like green peppers.
mm-hmm. Like
the
various pizza toppings.
That's my lunch.
This one has a little more spiciness to it. The one with the tomato powder.
It might just be like you hit a pepperoni just right or something.
I think so.
Because I didn't do anything different other than the tomato powder. Well, friends, this is delicious. And
and the crust is just outstanding.
I highly recommend this. If you don't have a mini loaf pan like I do, I would try it in a muffin tin. And maybe do it.
Ooh, yeah.
Sorry, I have something tickling my face. Maybe do a side-by-side comparison. You know, just drop a couple on a baking sheet and then put some in a muffin tin and see which way you like better. But in the pan, it does give more of that crispiness on the outside. And I did put the cheese on top as well to help it give that crispiness, you know, that cooked cheese crispiness. And I think that really helped as well. I will definitely be making this again and maybe adding some additional things in it, and definitely keep the tomato powder in it. I encourage you to give it a try. Like I said, I will put my inspiration recipe down in the description. This was another recipe by Gemma Stafford at Bigger Bolder Baking. And pizza scones. Delicious. So thank you for coming along with me today as I tried to tweak on this recipe a little bit and play with it. And I hope you give it a try and leave your thoughts down below. I hope you have a great day. Hope you have a great week. And I'll see you next time. Take care.